I want people to educate themselves. And I want people to look at these photographs and realize that there's a wealth of information that we did not know. My name is Jeff Govertson. I'm a local photographer in the Capital District. I've lived in Albany most of my life. And I've been working on a photo series recently called Pebbles. So Pebbles is a gallery focused on the foundation of the Capital District, specifically its neighborhoods and why they are where they are and what they were built for. So in the late 1700s, in 1790, is when New York decided to start abolishing slavery and to start freeing their slaves. They were completely freed. However, there were not many places or homes or cities that they were able to live in because society was still rejecting people of color or immigrants or anyone based on their economic status. And as a freed slave, you don't have money, you don't have a place to live. So they were given land by the Quakers. The Quakers offered them a lot of rocky and pebbly land that the white folk of the area did not want. There's some maps of Albany that show the difference between 1790 and 1830, and by 1833, Arbor Hill existed, Lansingburg existed, but in 1790, it didn't. It was just literally a hill covered in rocks. But they built these neighborhoods as quickly as they could to give homes for people that would end up working on things like the Erie Canal, or that would work in the bustling lumber industry that was massive in Albany at the time. So people would live in these neighborhoods, very poor, with very little resources and very little ways of getting out of those neighborhoods, making very minimal money, and they ended up being stuck in practically a fishbowl that was built for people to be poor in. So people living in these neighborhoods did not have access to transportation. They didn't have access to the same food. They didn't have access to really the same social settings that everyone that was living in the old Albany did. And those people living in old Albany were also the same people who owned the farms that had slaves at the time. So people living in these fishbowls that were placed there because they were too poor to afford anything else had no resources or no jobs or no way of getting to these jobs that would end up giving them money and that would end up helping them find a more successful life and a more prosperous life for them and their families. They were truly trapped. So police violence is one of modern society's best examples of systemic racism, and it's one of the easiest ways to show on paper that the people in power and the people in control still don't quite understand these neighborhoods and the places where people grew up. Neighborhoods like Arbor Hill and like Lansingburg have a pretty long track record of police violence, which tends to be very white on black. They hire people from the more wealthy white neighborhoods and from areas outside of these cities to police people that they truly know nothing about, that they don't understand. So I'm utilizing police violence in my photo shoots as a direct representation of modern society's divide. I had a lot of doubts after the initial thought, I should do this photo series. I should do something about Pebbles. I told myself not to because I am the white person. I am literally a white dude dressed up in 3 layers of denim that has the privilege to sit here on camera and talk about a problem that I don't know anything about. I didn't grow up in these neighborhoods. I didn't grow up highly impoverished, and I don't exactly have the right to speak on what it's like to grow up like that. However, when I finally started educating myself, I was constantly shocked. Even now I have chills thinking about this information that I found, because I never quite understood how truly doomed people are from birth in our own country. So I stopped myself quite a few times because I felt like I didn't understand enough and I didn't know enough. It wasn't until I told myself that all I need to do is share the information. I don't need to tell people that I know what it's like because I don't know what it's like. And I can't pretend like I know what it's like. But I can give people access to information that they did not know and hope that they feel as surprised and sad and hurt as I did when I first found out. Each of the photographs that's going into the Pebbles series is going to be representative of the officer's point of view in these interactions that they had with civilians. That's not to say that I know what their perspective is. However, I want to illustrate the divide between people who were born in these neighborhoods built on pebbles and people born in neighborhoods built on concrete. I'm representing that with a black and white photograph, a subject that is completely masked. They're wearing a hoodie with no skin tone showing, no face showing, and they only appear as an object. They don't appear as a person that you can relate to or appear as something that you can think anything about. It's just a figure. Each of these situations were an incident where a police officer saw something, and what they saw in their mind was a threat. It didn't really matter what the person was, it didn't matter what was happening to the person, and nothing else mattered except that the police officer at that time was scared. And they, because of who they are and because of what power they've been given, they then get to make the choice as to whether or not you live. I'm hoping that people can use this photo series and this collection of ideas and this collection of facts for any form of debate against someone who ever says there is no such thing as systemic racism. The word racism is very, very difficult to hear, and it's very, very hard for people to converse on. But you can't deny the facts that our country was built a little bit racist. I really hope that this gallery gives people something on paper that you can just hold out to someone and say, you know, this is why Arbor Hill is here.